Scorpio, I'm Ellie with PsychicFuture.com and this is your horoscope from the 24th to the 30th of September. So, hopefully last weekend you managed to do some nice autumn equinox things and celebrated this kind of harvest energy. If you didn't, I've got a blog post up on PsychicFuture.com about some little kind of things that you can do to just celebrate this changing of the seasons. So now we are moving into Libra season this week, and I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the misconceptions that get thrown about with Libra season, because it's actually a really important time of year, and a lot of it is based on the equinox, like I was talking about last week. And the equinox is the time of year where the days and the nights are of exactly equal length. So we're crossing over from the light half of the year, summer, and going outside and doing all these lovely kind of extroverted things with friends and hanging out and just like enjoying life. But then we're moving into the darker half of the year. So winter, the days are getting shorter, the nights are getting longer, we're becoming quieter and more still, we're going within, because there's not a lot to do, there's cold outside, it's dark, so there's lots of meditation and sleep and learning about ourselves going on. So the equinox is exactly that crossover point, and it reflects exactly in the symbol for Libra, which is the scales. So when you think of a Libra, you don't often think about that. What you tend to think about is the kind of like stereotypes that are thrown about a little bit in modern astrology, like, Libras are very charming, or Libras are good at meeting people, or Libras tend to have good dress sense, and Libras like art and music and beauty. And this is because Libra is ruled by Venus, so it is this, focus on relationships and love and beauty, but there's a lot more to it than that, and it does all come back to the scales, because if you think about what the scales represent, it's like this idea of opposites. So you've got light and dark, truth and, not truth, it's not a very good one, good and bad, yin and yang, positive and negative, all of these pairs of opposites that we have. And in that you have the inner and the outer. And when you think about these themes that I said about Libra, like, good dress sense, good at meeting people, hostess with the mostess, like, all of this kind of very external stuff is actually lacking the inner. And this is essentially like the cinch of what I'm talking about here, is that this idea of Libra season is all about trying to balance the external and the internal, and recognising that this symbol of the scales is also a mirror. So what we see outside of us is often a reflection of what we have inside of us. And this is a very metaphysical idea that is kind of the basis of a lot of spirituality, and it is reflected in psychology as well. So Carl Jung is a very famous psychotherapist. He came up with the idea of projection, which you might have heard, like when people say, don't project that onto me. So what this means is when we meet somebody, when we know somebody, if we really like some quality about them, it might be because actually that is what we want in ourselves. So we do this a lot with our romantic partners, and it's this idea of opposites attract. So perhaps, we meet somebody that is very like strong-willed and confident and, very like trustworthy and dependable. And then we think, okay, well, I really like those things about that person, but I don't feel like that myself, and that's why we're opposites attract. But what this is encouraging us to do is to actually embody those qualities in ourselves. So if we do meet somebody that's really confident and we think, wow, that's amazing, perhaps we need to try and encourage ourselves to be more confident, because actually we're trying to get to this place of being a whole person and accepting everything that we have inside of us. And that can go a lot to do with negative things as well. Like if you've ever met somebody and immediately you just think, oh my God, don't like them. I don't like that they, talk over other people, and I don't like that they are really loud and they kind of like steal the limelight. That's just an example. If that is the case, then a lot of the times that's because we're not letting ourselves have a little bit of that in ourselves as well. So if that is kind of resonating with you, this idea of somebody stealing the limelight and interrupting people and kind of being the centre of attention, then perhaps you want to be the centre of attention a little bit more, and that you need to push yourself into the limelight a little bit more. And then what will happen is that you don't feel like that negative way about those kind of people anymore, because you're already embodying it in yourself. So these are some like big ideas here, and to take them down to like a practical level, if you just this week, just ask yourself a few questions about how the outer is reflecting on your inner. So, for example, with your relationships, that's the easiest one to do it with. If you say, okay, what people have I got in my life, and what do I really love about them, and do I have that inside of myself? So if you have a friend that's like really creative and artistic, and you think, wow, she's so good at drawing, I would love to be that creative. And then look at yourself and think, am I that creative, or am I just not allowing myself to be that creative? And could I try to, encourage myself to be a little bit more like that? Like, do I need to just start with like small little steps and maybe join an art class, or, just anything. And it doesn't have to be creativity. It can be anything that you like in another person that you're perhaps not letting yourself be, because you're worried, or you don't think that you can do it, because you do have it inside of you, and that's why you like it in somebody else. So yeah, make sure that you kind of like ask a few questions and analyse a few of your relationships, because this energy of Libra is all about this, it is all about relationships, but at the end of the day, it's more about what those relationships mean about us, rather than just always focusing on the other person, or the what you want in another person. It's more about your inner journey and what you can do to improve yourself based on what you see outside of yourself. So yeah, have a good week with that. I'm going to pick you a tarot card just to give you a little bit of extra insight for the week. I've got these lovely new mini Rider-Waite cards that I got myself for my birthday. They're very nice. So let's have a card for Scorpio. The Star. Okay, the Star. I don't know if you can see that, it's very tiny. Yeah, this is about having hope in some issue. Perhaps you need to believe in yourself a little bit more. Perhaps you need to believe in your ideas a little bit more. Perhaps you've been a little bit disappointed about something recently and you thought, oh, I'll just give up on that. This comes out to tell you not to give up, to keep that hope and to keep that belief in whatever it is that you're doing. And it also, a lot of the time, can mean that you need to go through a period of healing in some way, or that you are going through a period of healing. So if you have had like some past disappointment recently, just know that you are on the right path, and that this big star is leading your way. The big star is like your higher self, so where you're meant to be going. And if you've experienced setbacks recently, just know that that is all part of the plan, and that you should have hope that things will improve, and that everything ahead of you is going to be part of it, and it's going to be a lot nicer and a lot more spiritually nurturing, I guess. So yeah, let me know if that resonated with anybody. If anybody's going through some healing at the moment, I wish you all the well with that journey. And yeah, check back next week for video then. Much love.